All right, thanks for joining us once again on The Bright Side. We're talking pimples and zits and bumps and skin problems. If you're an adult or if you're a kid or you're a teenager and you're dealing with pimples and those hard little pieces of tissue that are called milia, there's lots of nutritional and lifestyle strategies that you can use to correct things. I'm not going to belabor this too much longer. We've been spending a lot of time talking about it. Fats, fatty vitamins, vitamin A. Get yourself on 20,000 international units of vitamin A a day. Vitamin A can be used topically as well, especially in the retinoic acid form. Digestive enzymes are probably a good idea as well. There's a lot of fat metabolism issues that are associated with pimples and milia and keratoses and bumps, clogged pores, etc. Too many cells growing too fast, too much protein, too much oil. All of these are reflective, or all of these are causal when it comes to pimples and bumps and milia and such. You can also be dealing with too much insulin. Yesterday we talked about skin diabetes in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. Many dermatologists regarded acne as skin diabetes. They used acne medication to treat acne. They used diabetic medication to treat acne. Another interesting thing you might want to try if you have oily skin or you're breaking out is green tea. I was reading an article yesterday that was in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology. It was from 2012, that showed that the active ingredient in green tea, something called EGCG, for the chemists out there, Epigallocatechin gallate, we'll just call it EGCG. According to this article in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology from 2012, researchers showed that EGCG can suppress the oil stimulating activity, the oil secreting activity of insulin. And it showed that the size of oil glands and pimples were shrunk in response to topical and internal Epigallocatechin EGCG. And it also slowed down the movement and the growth of skin cells and the production of skin oils as well. Pretty much all pimples and bumps and oils that are associated with excess production of insulin can be down-regulated by this stuff, EGCG, that's found in green tea. And EGCG, green tea extract, or green tea's active ingredient, also acts as an anti-inflammatory too. That's a lot of benefits from green tea and the active ingredient in green tea, EGCG. You make your own green tea mask. You can take the tea leaves, green tea leaves, and steep them in just enough water to form a mask-like consistency. Or you can make a strong solution of the tea and use it as a toner. You can also make sure that you're drinking green tea. And EGCG isn't just for acne. It's not just for oils and skin bumps. EGCG also has sun protection properties too. And it is one of the most powerful anti-aging nutrients that you could ever use. And you don't necessarily need to use green tea to get your dose of EGCG. Certainly, green tea is the most notable source of Epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, but you'll also find it in various fruits and vegetables and plant materials. Apples are an especially good source of the stuff, EGCG, especially Fuji apples. Nuts have it, berries have it, raspberries have it. And one of the best sources, maybe even a better source than green tea, is carob. Carob is a kind of pea-like pea-like vegetable, or pea-like or bean-like substance. It grows on trees. It's similar to chocolate. It's not as flavorful as chocolate. It's probably not as medicinal as chocolate, but it is a great source of the active ingredient that you'll find in green tea as well, EGCG. Carob flower can help reduce testosterone in the scalp. In an article that was published in the December 2011 journal Experimental Dermatology, testosterone in the scalp was reduced, and EGCG from carob and from green tea significantly reduced hair loss by down-regulating testosterone's effect on scalp skin cells. So for dandruff, you can use EGCG, you can use green tea, you can make a green tea shampoo by adding a little bit of green tea to your shampoo, you can make a green tea mask, or you can eat carob flower. All these are great ways to get EGCG, which can have a down-regulating effect, a stabilizing effect on skin oils, on skin cell growth if you're dealing with pimples or you're dealing with acne. Skin cells, whether on the scalp or whether on the face or anywhere on the body, are really receptive to testosterone. Just like skin cells and oil-making cells are responsive to insulin, they're also responsive to testosterone. That means if you're making lots of testosterone, teenage boys or teenage girls are typically going through a testosterone burst. Menopausal women or perimenopausal women will have relatively high higher levels of testosterone, and they may be subject to some of the skin effects of excess testosterone. Testosterone is called a male hormone, but it's really a growth hormone, and because women make it too, they are subject to the same effects as men when it comes to skin oils or too much keratin or cells dividing rapidly. Zinc is one of the all-time great testosterone metabolizing minerals. So if you have dandruff or you have zits or you have pimples or milia or breakouts or oily skin, 50 milligrams of zinc are not optional in my opinion. Actually, you know what? 50 milligrams of zinc picolinate, and that second word is Picolinate. Zinc picolinate is not optional anyway. Zinc is a fabulously incredible mineral. Maybe, well, I don't want to say the most, but it sure is in the argument for the most important nutritional mineral and the most important supplemental mineral you could ever take. It's crazy cheap. You can get a 3-month supply for $10 of zinc picolinate. There's really no reason not to be on a zinc supplement. And vitamin A also works together with zinc. Zinc and vitamin A are partners. Zinc is the most important of the anabolic building minerals, stabilizing building, making building happen. If it's not happening, slowing down building. If it's happening too fast. And vitamin A is its vitamin analog. It's its vitamin cousin. Vitamin A and zinc are your two most important building substances. Zinc is the most important building mineral. Vitamin A for anabolism, I say it's for anabolism, is the most important of the building vitamins, and they work together. All right, hang tight. We'll continue when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side, and we'll be back right after this. Okay, so I just have a couple more things I want to say about cysteine, and I'm sorry, about testosterone and insulin and ways that you can control the cysteine or cysteine-containing protein keratin secretion that causes milia and bumps and pimples and hardness on the skin. Cysteine, as we've said, is a hardening protein. Think zinc, think vitamin A, think fat metabolism, think digestion, digestive enzymes, and think biolumin nightly essence, or really any probiotics can help you with fat metabolism and fat absorption. But the two most important nutrients are probably vitamin A and zinc, and as I was saying before our break, vitamin A and zinc work together. 50 milligrams zinc picolinate, 20,000 IU of vitamin A. These are must-haves for any kind of skin condition, but especially hyperkeratoses, too much keratin, skin conditions, bumps and pimples and such. Cysteine is a hardening protein. Wherever there's hardness in the body, skin, hair, nails, bone, you're going to find cysteine. Wherever there's hardness in nature, you're going to find cysteine in horns and claws and hooves and scales. Even spider silk is high in cysteine. Yesterday, CNN had a story about the healing powers of spider silk. Biotechnology firms are exploring the use of spider silk as a type of thread to weave human tissue after surgery. The secret is in the cysteine, which contributes strength and makes silk compatible with human tissue. So we spent a lot of time now talking about cysteine and its capacity as a hardening agent. It has that element of sulfur. Sulfur is very magnetic and it holds on to things. It doesn't let them go, and that's what gives cysteine its hardening property, the magnetism of sulfur, this powerful magnetic grip. On the molecular level anyway, this powerful magnetic grip creates hardness. And at the macro level, at the big level, gives cysteine an important role in making tissues like bone and hair and skin and connective tissue hard. But this magnetic property of sulfur and of cysteine is behind another very important feature of cysteine, the most important, in my opinion, or actually one of the most important features of cysteine, and that is its detox property. Cysteine is an amazing detoxification substance. In fact, cysteine, because it's so reactive, it's the most reactive of all amino acids, it is very likely the most detoxifying of all the amino acids. It's got that little element of sulfur hanging off of it, and sulfur is hot, sulfur is violent, and sulfur is reactive. Sulfur is a pit bull. Sulfur is a mineral pit bull with an attitude, in a good way. Its tenacity, the tenacity of sulfur, can be exploited for detoxification. Its tenacity means hardness and aggressiveness, and it makes sulfur an ideal protector and an ideal defender. And cysteine has a nice little chunk of sulfur hanging right off of it. Cysteine sulfur component can be exploited in something called acetylcysteine, or technically N-Acetylcysteine, which may be the single most powerful nutritional supplement you could ever use for detoxification. Anybody interested in detox needs to be using 500 milligrams of N-Acetylcysteine. Pretty much everybody should be on 500 milligrams, in my opinion, of N-Acetylcysteine just as a precaution. And it's really cheap too. Like zinc, I was saying earlier, zinc is cost you about $3 a month or something ridiculously cheap. NAC is the same way. And acetylcysteine will cost you right around $3 or $4 a month for a daily 500 milligram dose. It's crazy not to be on it. There's no side effects, there's no toxicity, there's only beneficial effects, and it's crazy cheap and easy to find. The list of benefits, documented clinical benefits that are associated with N-acetylcysteine, ranges from saving lives. If you have liver poisoning, it's used in emergency rooms to detox the liver. It can prevent cold sores. It can shorten the duration of a hangover. It can completely eliminate a hangover. If you use N-acetylcysteine every day and use a little before you go out drinking, and when you come home at night, you can completely eliminate your hangover. N-acetylcysteine, as I said, is used as an emergency room medicine. It's actually part of the emergency room protocol for Tylenol poisoning. And N-acetylcysteine is even a prescription drug that helps to prevent or help slow down the production of mucus. It's such a powerful anti-mucus substance that it's used as a medication for treating cystic fibrosis patients. Cystic fibrosis is a disease that's associated with crazy amounts of mucus that clog up the respiratory system. It's a horrible, horrible disease, and its main sign is thick, sludgy mucus that blocks breathing and can block the function of various organs and glands in the body. And NAC is a pharmacological treatment. The very same stuff that you could buy at the health food store for $15 or $20 for a 3-month supply, the very same N-acetylcysteine is a prescription drug that saves lives. It's crazy not to be on this stuff, in my opinion. Especially if you have a liver problem. Liver disease is really, really a big issue. NAFLD, which stands for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is a major sign of poor health. And 30% of Americans are dealing with it. The liver is the body's primary fat processing structure. And it does all of its work. It does all of its liver processing work in cells called hepatocytes, liver cells. And liver cells are the most multifunctioning cells in the body. They're the classic example of a multitasking cells. Aside from liver cells' role in processing amino acids and protein and detoxifying drugs and pesticides, as well as food toxins that are in corporate restaurant, McDonald's type foods, the liver also processes fats from the foods that we eat. Over time, as liver cells become overworked from too much toxicity and too much dietary fat, large globs of unused fat start to accumulate in liver cells, and that's called fatty liver disease. It used to only happen to alcoholics, but now it's happening to everybody, so they got to come up with a new name for this fatty liver disease. They call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease to distinguish it from the kind of fatty liver disease that happens to alcoholics. But it's the same stuff. It's the liver getting messed up. All disease is cell disease, as we said so many times. And anything we can do to support the health of liver cells is going to be in our long-term interests. And that means cysteine and N-acetylcysteine, which is a powerful, powerful liver detoxifying and liver health nutrient. The two most important things we could do if we have fatty liver disease, if you've gone to the doctor and he says, oh, don't worry about it, you just got a little fatty liver, everybody gets that. No, you got a problem if you have fatty liver disease. That means your detoxification, the detoxification abilities of the liver are going to be compromised. That means more toxicity in the body. That means you can't process fats and you can't process sugar and you can't process amino acids as effectively. If anybody tells you it's normal to have a fatty liver, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not normal to have a fatty liver. It's a sign of distress, and it means you want to do something about it. There's two ways that you can approach fatty liver disease. Number one, you want to make sure that your liver is not overworked. That means staying away from pharmaceutical poisons and xenoestrogens and processed dietary fats, especially trans fats, and make sure you're stabilizing your blood sugar. And then secondly, use nutritional supplements, especially NAC, vitamin C, essential fatty acids, magnesium. These are all very, very important for keeping your liver healthy. And then NAC has some interesting topical applications as well. I'll tell you what those are when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. let's see here. I got one more thing I want to tell you about NAC. Tomorrow we'll talk about a couple other detoxifying. Well, you know what? I'm going to hang on till tomorrow. We'll tell you about topical applications of NAC. If you have acne, if you're using benzoyl peroxide, which is a nasty acne medicine that you can get at the drugstore from doctors, you're going to want to know about topical NAC. We'll tell you about that tomorrow. And then we'll talk about a very interesting relationship between NAC and cysteine and excitotoxins, and a very interesting relationship, an especially interesting relationship, I think, between selenium and cysteine as it regards detoxification, especially from mercury. We will do all that tomorrow as we continue talking about cysteine's many applications for health. And then, not tomorrow, the next day, we'll talk about some of the toxic effects associated with cysteine. That's as we continue talking about protein and amino acids for good health on the bright side. Okay, 855-660-4261 is our bright side phone number. Let's go to Ken in Idaho. Welcome to the bright side. What's up?
Brother Ben, you are a wizard, a Harry Potter wizard of hell.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Maybe Professor Snape, the potions master. I have followed your advice to a T with longevity products. I was as high as 301. I'm down to 227.
Awesome. How long? How long's it been?
Well, it's been. I started about 9 months ago. I've been on these
That's awesome, man. That's very good news.
I feel fantastic. I'm fasting 1 to 2 days a week, and I'm on the ketogenic diet. I'm following your advice. I'm getting spirulina and kelp. But here's a question. I'll be 60 next year.
Okay.
When I was 17 and 18, I weighed 165. I'm down to 227. I guess my quick question is, what should I weigh? And once I started doing this, it's really not up to you. It's what the body says it's going to be when you get rid of the fat and you start living healthy. So what should a guy weigh at 6'1", nearly 60
There's no
years
way
old?
to know that. There's no way to know because it has to do with bone structure. It has to do with how much muscle you're carrying, how much fat you're carrying. There's a whole bunch of factors that take place. I wouldn't worry about unless just for you want to look good, that's different. And then you got to get yourself in the gym and start doing some weights and toning up. But just from a health perspective, it's not so much the weight, the number, as it is the body fat, number one, and metabolic issues, biochemistry issues, more than just weight issues. So I wouldn't necessarily be paying attention to the number as much as I would be paying attention to things like blood pressure and sleep issues and skin issues and perhaps blood sugar kinds of things, maybe visceral body fat around the middle of your body, stomach body fat, that kind of thing. I wouldn't go by just the straight number unless it's like ridiculously high. That's different. But if you're just around, what do you say, you're 6'1", 220? Is that what you said?
I'm 6'1", 227. I haven't seen that in 35 years.
That's great. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You're not too bad. You're not too bad. Do you have stomach fat, belly fat?
Well, I still look in the mirror and I still got fat around the mid. So I'm not there yet. But I guess at 165 when I was 17, that may have been healthy then. But what about stretched skin? Because my wife's got it from having children, and of course I have some of it just hanging around. Now I've listened to all your, and I know topical stuff, but will the stretched skin,
once it's stretched,
ever go back to worse?
No, stretch marks and that kind of thing. No, the trick to dealing with stretch marks is to handle them before they happen. That means if you're pregnant, to use things like retinoic acid or vitamin C on the area that's being stretched, or if you're losing a lot of weight, using retinoic acid and vitamin C. Those are the two main topical approaches to stretching skin. Stretching skin is a defect in the connective tissue, and once it's stretched out like that, it's not going away. Sometimes women after they have a baby will have some significant stretching, and that just doesn't go away. There's no way to make it go away except for surgery sometimes, but then you'll end up with a scar. So unfortunately, there's no real medical or nutritional treatment for dealing with skin once it's stretched. However, before it stretches, that's really where you want to approach it. You want to prevent it, and that means topical vitamin A, which in the retinoic acid form is the best, and then topical vitamin C in its fatty form is the best. And I'll be coming out with if you're interested in fatty vitamin C, you should send an email at ben@ksco.com. ksco.com, and I'll send you a link to some fatty vitamin C. And then internally, using cartilage-containing products and foods, things like the glucogel caps and also bone soup, that can help. And then more protein can also help. And one of the very underrated nutritional supplements for dealing with all cartilage and connective tissue issues like stretch marks, but also like wrinkles and arthritis, which are similar, is to use vitamin C. Vitamin C is the rate-limiting step for collagen and connective tissue and cartilage production. Without vitamin C, and even if you're deficient in vitamin C, it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, depending on how deficient you are, to make a cartilage and collagen and to prevent stretch marks from happening. And sometimes because vitamin C is just so common and it seems like it's just like kind of a routine nutrient, we don't think about its importance, but it is very, very important internally and topically. I hope that helps, Steve. And then
it does, but even if you was to go have surgery, who would you go see, and what type of surgery would it be for stretch?
Plastic surgeon. A plastic surgeon is who you'd go to, and it's a significant surgery. They got to cut and they got to remove stuff, and it just doesn't seem like it's worth it unless it's really, really problematic and unattractive and you're psychologically debilitated from it. It doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. Of course, I don't have the problem, so I can't speak that way. But if you do want to have surgery, you'd have to go to a plastic surgeon to have it done.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Appreciate it, Ken. Ken in Idaho. Let's move on to Bill in Texas. Welcome to the bright side. What's up, buddy?
Thanks. I was wondering what you'd suggest about ringworm.
Ringworm is a fungal infection, and even though it shows up on top of the skin, it's really not a skin problem, although it's cosmetically a skin problem. But from a causal level, it's more like a immune system problem. We live in a jungle, folks. Bacteria and fungus are all over the place. They're in our skin, they're in our environment, they're in our hair, they're in our eyelashes, they're all over our body, they're all over in our body, they're in our body as well as on top of our body. Usually, these things are regulated. Bacteria regulate the fungus, and fungus regulate the bacteria. They kind of balance each other out. Good bacteria regulate the bad bacteria. Everything's kind of in a balance. However, when our immune system is suppressed, or when we have some kind of imbalance in gut bacteria, we'll end up with various fungal and bacterial infections. So the way you want to deal with ringworm, first of all, you can take care of it topically with things like prescription drugs, Nizoral, or antifungal topical medications, Nystatin, that kind of thing can help. But internally, you want to focus on a suppressed immune system, and you also want to focus on building your immune system. Probably the most important, in my opinion, immune system nutritional supplement is going to be probiotics, or good bacteria. And if you have a digestive problem or you're eating the wrong kinds of food, that's going to suppress good bacteria. So get yourself on the BioLumin Nightly Essence. Make sure you're eating lots of fermented food, sauerkraut, miso, kimchi, kefir. Anything fermented with bacteria is going to be helpful for helping stabilize the immune system, especially when it comes to fungal infections. If you have any digestive problems, those need to be corrected. Staying away from problem foods, that's very important also. And then there's nutrients that you can use to build the immune system. Vitamin C is the prime immune system building vitamin, although vitamin A is also very important. Probably around 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day and 20,000 international units of vitamin A a day. Hang tight, Bill. There's a couple more things I want to tell you when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Okay, we are talking to Bill in Texas about ringworm. Bill, before we went to break, we were saying vitamin C, zinc, vitamin A, those are your most important immune system building vitamins. N-Acetylcysteine is very helpful for any kind of immune problems. Using probiotics can be helpful. And then topically, in addition to the prescription remedies like Nystatin, which is a common topical prescription antifungal that's used, you can also use coconut oil, which has some antifungal properties, and certainly Lugol solution and colloidal silver. While not directly antifungal, they're antimicrobial, and they'll pretty much kill stuff in a non-toxic fashion. And you may want to consider using topical Lugol solution, that's an iodine solution, or topical colloidal silver, in addition to maybe trying some coconut oil, which contains something called lauric acid. Lauric acid is really interesting stuff. Lauric acid is actually used in the skincare industry to create detergents. Stuff like sodium lauryl sulfate, which many of you have heard of, comes from lauric acid. And lauric acid has been used in something called oil pulling. We haven't talked about oil pulling a lot. That's something you do to clean your mouth out, to clean your gums out, to kill bacteria in the mouth, and it all exploits lauric acid and coconut oil. You take a teaspoon of coconut oil, swish it around your mouth, and you get that lauric acid benefit to kill bacteria in the mouth, but you can also use it topically as an antimicrobial. So I hope that helps you. Does any other questions? Does that clear things up for you, Bill?
No, that's very helpful. I sure appreciate it.
Good deal. Have a beautiful day in Texas, and let's move on to Steve in Pennsylvania. What's up, Steve? Steve, going once?
Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Okay. I have a question on the N-Acetylcysteine.
Sure.
How different is that than, let's say, the amino acid cysteine?
It is much different. The amino acid cysteine, for some reason, is not handled by, it doesn't have the same detoxification properties as the acetylated version does. And you know what? I'm not exactly sure why that is, but cysteine isn't going to give you the same kind of benefits as N-acetylcysteine will. And I don't know exactly why they use N-acetylcysteine, but I know the cysteine does not work the same way.
Okay, and a similar line to three other questions.
Sure.
The vitamin C, the oil-based vitamin C, wouldn't the arlipoic acid, the type that's very assimilable with vitamin C, make that vitamin C, any vitamin C work great?
Yeah, lipoic acid does have a synergistic effect with vitamin C. So are you asking me, can you use water-soluble vitamin C to get the benefit?
I guess my question was on the different types of vitamin C's of the food-based vitamin C's, which some of them are like 20 times more assimilable than the ascorbic acid.
Yeah. Somebody must be going around talking about this because I'm getting a lot of letters about ascorbic acid and food-based vitamin C. So let me clear this up a little bit, okay? First of all, when the cell, it's all about the cell. Vitamin C doesn't just matter floating around in the blood. It has to get into a cell where it does the work. When the vitamin C molecule meets the cell, right? At the juncture between the vitamin C and the cell doesn't know whether that vitamin C came from an asparagus or came from a supplement, or it came from an orange or a berry, or it came from something you got at the vitamin store. All it sees is the shape of the ascorbic acid molecule. So anybody out there telling you that that food-based vitamin C is better than ascorbic acid is a flat-out ignoramus, a biochemical ignoramus. However, hang on, let me finish, bro. Let me finish, okay? However, it's true that you always want to get your vitamins from food, and they are more assimilatable because of cofactors that are related to the vitamin C. So it's not the ascorbic acid that's different, it's the cofactors in the food that make the ascorbic acid more readily absorbable by the digestive tract. So when you eat a food or a food-based supplement, it goes in your digestive tract, and the cofactors with the ascorbic acid help that vitamin C, or help that ascorbic acid get into the blood more effectively. But once the ascorbic acid is in the blood, it doesn't matter whether it came from a whole food or a supplement. Once it meets the cell, the ascorbic acid, the cell has to take it in as ascorbic acid, has to take the vitamin C as ascorbic acid. So where food-based vitamin C is a superior form of vitamin C is not because it's the vitamin C, but the cofactors that are with the vitamin C in the whole food. And I'm on record as saying, I'll say it again, it's always better to take whole food supplement or whole foods than it is to take strictly supplements. But the problem is, when it comes to foods, is we don't know how much vitamin C is in our foods. We don't know how much selenium is in our foods. We don't know how much of anything is in our foods. It's a crapshoot, and the only way to guarantee is by using a supplement. But when it comes to whole food supplements, as opposed to whole foods are always going to be your best. But when it comes to whole food supplements, here's the problem. You don't get the same kind of quantities of nutrients. So you're never going to get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in a whole food supplement. Yes, you may get a little more absorbed, but you're still not going to get the same potency. And given the ridiculous price and cost of whole food supplements, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. If you want to use a whole food supplement, eat a whole food. That's really the best way to do it. Other than that, anybody telling you And for you guys writing me letters, some gal wrote me a letter. I'm so disappointed because the Beyond Tangy Tangerine has ascorbic acid, and I heard ascorbic acid or whole food supplements are better than ascorbic acid. Not true. The cell itself takes in ascorbic acid. It doesn't take in the whole food supplement. It has to extract the ascorbic acid out of your whole food supplement in order to absorb it. So why not just take the ascorbic acid and save your body the work of extracting it? Yes, it's true. Please understand. Yes, it's true. Whole food supplements and whole foods have cofactors that assist in the processing and absorption of the vitamin C, of the ascorbic acid. But vitamin C and ascorbic acid are synonyms. They're synonymous. They're the same thing. So vitamin C is ascorbic acid, and a cell takes in ascorbic acid, not a whole food supplement. So anybody out there telling you that a whole... yeah, you can, but did that make sense? First say yes or no. No, bros. Did that make sense what I said? And then I'll let you respond.
It does make sense.
Okay, now tell me your take on it.
Okay, now what happens if the cell only can absorb 5% of the standard ascorbic acid?
It's not going to make a difference.
20 times more.
The whole food supplement only assists in the absorption from the gut, not the absorption into the cell. Okay. Once the whole food supplement gets broken down, the vitamin C is freed, and the bioflavonoids are freed, and the carotenes are freed. They're all freed. And once this vitamin C gets to the cell, it's not connected to the whole food supplement any longer.
Okay, the question would be, what would enable that vitamin C, standard ascorbic acid, to be absorbed
more effectively? Better? Now, are you saying absorbed into the gut or absorbed into the cell? Into the cell?
Yeah.
Working on the cell.
Working the cell is another thing.
The cell has an ability to absorb ascorbic acid very effectively as long as the cell is healthy. So that's not a problem. You got to make sure your cells are healthy. And as we said, all disease is cell disease. But I think what you may be referring to is the gut. See, this is an important distinction. Absorption into the gut, or absorption through the gut into the blood, and then absorption into the cell. There's two types of absorption, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we confuse. When we say absorption, what we really mean is, when we're talking about vitamin C anyway, is absorption through the digestive tract into the blood. From there, the body will take care of absorption into the cell. If you want to upregulate that, then work on your cells. Where we really want to work on things is absorption through the intestinal barrier into the blood. That's a very important point. In fact, I think I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. We'll start off the program with that tomorrow because that's very confusing. And I don't know who's going around saying that whole food vitamin C is somehow different from regular vitamin C, because it's not. Although, again, I got to say this again because I know somebody's going to misunderstand what I'm saying. Whole food supplements do have bioflavonoids and other substances that help with the absorption of vitamin C. And please, please, please understand, foods are always the best way to get your nutrition, not supplements. The problem is we just don't know how much of the nutrition is left in our food because of how we've trashed our soils, how we process and store and ship and preserve our foods. We don't really know what kind of nutrients are left. So it's kind of a necessary evil to have to supplement. Steve, we're just out of time.
Ben, but I really touch on one thing before you wrap up the show. The difference between vitamin D2 and D3.
There's significant difference. There's significant differences.
And how much more of the D2 do you have to consume to equal the same amount of D3? And the same thing for K1 and K2.
There are significant differences between all of those, and I only have 30 seconds, and I can't really do it justice. But I'll tell you what, Steve, you can either call back tomorrow, or even if you don't, I'm going to start off the program talking about this because it's a very, very important subject. Again, whole foods are the best way to get your nutrients, not supplements. And again, whole food supplements have an advantage over regular supplements, but the molecule itself, the vitamin C itself, is the same. Ascorbic acid is ascorbic acid is ascorbic acid, and that's the only way a cell can utilize vitamin C is as ascorbic acid. So you save yourself a lot of money, you get a much bigger dose if you use plain old ascorbic acid. We'll talk about this tomorrow.